a quick glute activation video using a resistance band loop. I'm going heavy with my band. You can use whatever weight works for you. So this is a great one to do before a longer lower body class, especially if you have a hard time getting those glutes to turn on. Maybe you're hamstring dominant, but you could also do this video on a day you're short on time and you just want to get a quick burn in for the glutes. We'll start with a little bit of mobility just to get some movement going within the hip joint, and then we'll get right into it. You don't put the band on to start, but I do want it within reach because we will grab it shortly. So I want you to lay down on your back, feet planted on the mat, arms down by your side. Now, keeping your right foot on the mat, I want you to just lift your left leg up into tabletop, and then I want you to take your opposite right hand to the inside of that knee just to hold it in place. And we're just going to find internal and external rotation. So you're kind of windshield wipering that left shin side to side. So you're seeing the foot and the shin move, but I want you to think about where the movement is really originating, okay? In the hip joint. So the femur head, the top of that thigh bone, is rotating within the hip joint. And we're not moving the knee out to the side or in, which is why we just have our palm here, kind of a tactile cue. Let's go one more, out and in, bring it to center, and then plant that left foot down. We're gonna come into a hip release now. So what you're gonna do is take this left knee, you're gonna drop it to the left, and as you do, I want you to slide your leg long down the mat so that it's straight, and then I want you to internally rotate the thigh as you bend the knee and bring it in so kind of knee is tapping that stationary right knee. We drop it open, slide it long, internally rotate, slide it up. One more this direction. Slide it up, and then let's just reverse it. So internal rotation, slide the leg long. External rotation, bend the knee, slide it up and open. So just continuing to mobilize through that hip joint, trying to stay stable through the pelvis as you do this. Last time, bring it up, plant the foot. Now let's take it over to the right side. So start by lifting that right knee up to tabletop. Left hand can come to the inside of it, and let's just windshield wiper, finding internal to external rotation. So I have very limited internal rotation, so that foot is not going out to the right very far, and that is okay. Don't force it, okay? It's only as big as you can control. We're neutral through the spine. Gentle brace that abdominal wall, breathing through this. One more. Come through center, lower the foot, and let's do our hip release. So start by taking that right knee, drop it to the right. Slide the leg long. Internally rotate as you draw the leg back in. Keep going this direction. One more time. And then let's just switch direction. So right knee drops in towards the left leg. Internally rotate, slide it long. Externally rotate, draw it back up. Now notice, is your stationary left knee wobbling all over the place as you do it? Try to keep that knee pointing straight up like you're balancing something on top of it. Goes back to stability through the pelvis, and done. Now from here, plant both feet down, arms by your side. We're going to do a hip roll. So we're lifting up into a hip bridge, but we're going to articulate through the spine to get there. So inhale to prepare. As you exhale, start to roll the hip bones towards your bottom ribs, sort of gently tucking the tailbone. Press your feet into the floor, fire through the glutes, vertebrae by vertebrae. Peel that spine up into your long hip bridge position. Stay for an inhale. Exhale, vertebrae by vertebrae, middle, lower spine, and roll that pelvis through neutral. Again, inhale to prepare. On your exhale, you roll, lift the tailbone up, firing through the glutes, pressing your feet into the floor. Stay at the top. You're not flaring open through the rib cage at the top, so think reach your tailbone long. And we roll the spine back down. One more time. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, start to roll the pelvis. Peel the spine off the mat and hold and breathe. So you're pressing your feet into the floor and you're sort of drawing your heels towards your seat. You're neutral to the spine, so you're not just clenching into your lower back. We hold for 3. We're gonna grab that resistance band in 2 and 1. Lower those hips down. Okay, so you're gonna grab your band. We're gonna stick with some hip bridge work, adding in some single leg stuff. I want you to bring the band around your thighs, so a few inches above your knees. Make sure your heels are planted under the knees, not too in close to your butt, okay? Arms down by your side, and feet are about sitting bones distance apart. You're gonna keep a gentle press out on the band. Now we're not gonna roll anymore. It's gonna be more of a hinge of a hip. So we're just gonna start by lifting and lowering double leg. On an exhale, you drive your feet into the floor, fire through the seat, lift those hips up, and lower down. Now I want you to lower all the way down to the bottom so that the glutes relax, all right? They're elongated at the bottom. Contract as you lift. So the goal is to activate the glutes. So this is mindful movement. Really think about what you're doing. Notice, constantly be asking yourself, where am I feeling this? If you're just feeling this in your low back, then you're probably lifting up like this, flaring through the rib cage, clenching into the low back with this big arch. Instead, you need to think glutes. So reach that tailbone kind of towards your knees. We're going to hold at the top. We're going to take this to a little pulse. Next time those hips lift up, hold. It's just a little pulse. Hips lower an inch or two, lift an inch or two. Lower and lift. Now your hamstrings are working here as well, so it's not that I don't want you to feel them in the back of your legs, but really think about the elongating and the contracting of the glute muscles. Now we're going to start to shift the focus into that left leg. Right leg. Next time those hips lift up, hold. Now I want you to really plant down firmly through the right foot, and I want you to lift your left heel up a couple inches. So now there's less weight in that left side. We've shifted it into the right. And let's go to full range. Lower those hips all the way down and lift up. Lower and lift. So I think it's important to include some unilateral work in glute activation so you can notice any differences between your sides. Often, next time up, hold your hips up, we take it to a pulse. Hold at the top, little pulse. Down an inch or two, up. Often, we'll have a harder time activating the glutes on one side than the other, which is always the case for me. So it's good to take note of that. Now keep your hips level to the ceiling. Just because one heel is lifted doesn't mean we've tilted the pelvis. We're going to hold at the top and we're going to remove that left foot from the floor all the way. Next time those hips lift up, I want you to hold. Now before you do anything, you're connected to the front of your rib cage. Lift the hips up a little higher. All we're going to do is straighten this left leg, thighs stay parallel. Hold. Keep reaching long through the sides of your waist, okay? So don't crunch up on one side. Now it's just a little press out with that left leg, pushing against the band. It's the left leg that's moving. Right leg is stabilizing. Keep pushing the hips up to the ceiling. We have one final hold in 3. Push out on the band and hold in 2. And 1. Hold. Little tension on the band. Hips up a little higher. They are level. Length through the waist. Hold for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower the hips down. Hug the knees in towards your chest. All right, so we're going to do that same thing on the other side. We'll start with the double leg lift and lower. All right, so let's plant both feet down. Arms by your side. Again, heels not in too close. Feet about sitting bones distance apart. Pressing against that band gently. And let's just lift and lower through the hips. Now I want you to notice as you lift and lower, is there any swaying side to side? That happens to me a lot. And that can happen if you're having a harder time connecting to the glutes on one side than the other. One side will kind of want to lead the charge. And so that creates a little swaying. And while the band, we're not really actively moving it, it's serving as a guide so you can notice, are you keeping those thighs the same distance apart? Next time you're at the top, I want you to hold, take it to your little pulse. Down an inch, elongate, relax through the glutes, contract. We're going to hold to the top. We're going to shift the focus into the left side, so it will be that right heel that lifts up. Next time you pulse the hips up, hold. Now lift your right heel up a couple inches, okay? Don't totally lock out through the ankles, just a couple inches lift. And let's go to full range. We lower the hips to that hover. Drive that left foot into the mat, lift up. Hips are staying level to the ceiling. So again, think of pushing the hips up, not your ribs up. Hip bones up. So we get glutes. We're going to hold at the top for pulses. Next time you lift up, pause, little pulse. Down an inch or two, squeeze. Now we come into that true single leg hold up next. We'll straighten out this right leg. We'll hold, we'll pulse, we'll hold. Try not to let your hips start to sag down as you do it, okay? Really reach them to the ceiling. And make sure when you lift up, you're not coming to the back of your neck, okay? Your upper shoulder blades are staying down. Really, all the shoulder blades are. Lift to the top, pause. All right, length through both sides of the waist, plant down through that left foot, and now just straighten out your right leg. Keep reaching up through the hip bones. Now give me that little press out on the band. Out, out. I know this is hard. We're almost done with hip bridge work, okay? You can do it. Keep pushing up through the hips. Keep reaching long through the leg. You're going to finish with a hold. You'll press out gently on that band in 3, 2, press out and just hold, hips up. You got it. You're here for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both feet down, lower the hips, hug those knees into your chest. All right, so we're going to roll onto our side next. We're going to do a little side lying work. We will start with the right leg, so you'll mirror me. So I want you to flip and lay on your left side. So I want you to lay all the way down on your side. You can either prop yourself up on your arm or you can do the hand, but I want your whole rib cage down though, okay? So I would recommend neck long. From here, you want to sort of use the front edge of your mat to make sure that your spine is in one long line. And then I want you to hop the legs forward like this so that your shins are kind of level with the front of your mat. It's okay if it's not exact, but I just don't want you like this, okay? You do want to be in this sort of flexed hip position. We're going to do a clamshell. So very important, you squeeze the heels together and then you lift that top right leg. Now the hips are staying stacked, one on top of the other. We're long through the sides of the waist. So you're thinking of almost a gentle brace away from the mat instead of letting that waist collapse down into it. So you kind of reach this hip bone long. So don't just think of lifting the knee up, really think about where the movement is coming from. This hip joint. Don't neglect the squeezing of the heels in towards each other. And you're not opening so wide that you're rolling your hips back, okay? So this might not be a huge motion. We're going to hold at the top coming up. Next time you open up into that clamshell, I just want you to hold, squeeze those heels in towards each other. Keep reaching long through the body. This top leg is going to come to parallel. You're going to lift it to a hover. In 3, squeeze those heels together actively. 2, 1, bring the right thigh to parallel and then just lift it up to hip height at a hover. Now from here, we're going to do external rotation to internal rotation. So kind of like that clamshell, we lift, the toe kind of reaches down, and then internal. So toes towards toes, and then that right foot kind of reaches up towards the ceiling. Keeping this right thigh parallel to the floor as we rotate with control within that hip joint. You might notice some stickiness within the hip. That is okay. Now up next, we're going to hold internal rotation, and we're just going to pulse up against that band slightly. So next time you come to internal rotation, hold. So the toes are kind of pointing up to the ceiling, but not so much that you roll forward. And just a little pulse against that band. Up, up. Connected to our core. We have just one more thing, okay, and then we're done on this side. Thigh will come through parallel, and we're just going to straighten out this right leg. So kind of bring our body into an L shape. Pulse for 4, for 3, hold, in 2, and 1, hold, bring the thigh to parallel, and now all you're going to do is straighten out that right leg, give me a little pulse up on the band. If you start to tuck your tailbone under, swing the leg back a little bit, okay? You don't have to be in a 90-degree angle. Pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, lower that top leg. Awesome work. All right, so we just got to do that same thing on the other side. So let's switch over. So you're going to be laying on your right side body. Focus will be the left outer hips, outer glutes. Lay all the way down and then use the mat to kind of line your torso up. So I know I always tend to have my shoulders forward of the hips. Try to get yourself in one neutral line, and then hips are in a flexed position. Shins can be pretty much level with the long edge of your mat. It's okay if they're slightly behind. I just don't want your knees way back here, okay? Let's start with that clamshell. So you're going to squeeze the heels together, and we lift up on that top left leg. Rotate open. So again, side body almost lifts away from the mat. It may still be physically touching the mat. That's perfectly fine. It's just the bracing of the obliques and the abdominal wall that I want, okay? That's how we keep our pelvis level. If we let the waist collapse down, then our pelvis rolls like this. So you got to think length. Open on the exhale. And again, we're taking note of the differences between our sides if you do feel any. Maybe it's easier to connect to the glutes on one side than the other. We're not just going through the motions. You can have your top fingertips on the floor for support, but I want you to make sure you're not rolling closed through the upper body. We have that hold coming up. You'll actively squeeze those heels together, and you're just going to hold the top of your clamshell. Next time you open up, let's hold. Squeeze those heels together. Hips are stacked, long through the waist. Push against that band. Heels press in. Left leg comes to parallel at hip height in 3. Hold for 2. And 1. So you're going to bring that thigh to parallel. It's at hip height. We're going to do internal to external. I'm doing it with a plantar flexed foot or pointed foot, but that's not super important. And if you notice any cramping in the foot, just relax it. Internal to external. So you're staying stable through the pelvis as that thigh rotates within the hip joint. Windshield wipering that shin up and down. You're going to hold internal rotation up next, and we'll pulse up against the band. Okay, next time you come through internal rotation, so that foot is pointing up slightly, reach along through the waist, little pulse up. Press up against the band. You have just one more variation after this, okay? We'll straighten out the leg, pulse it there, and then you're done. Pulse for 8, 7, 6, 5, hold in 4, 3, 2, hold it, bring the thigh through parallel, straighten out that leg, long through the waist, don't tuck the tailbone, little pulses up. You got it, this is where you finish. Woo, outer hips, outer glutes should be talking to you. Give me 8, 7, 6, 5, almost there, 4, 3, 2, 1, done. Lower it down. Ooh, awesome job. All right, hopefully those glutes are awake and talking to you. Awesome work.